Today I'm super excited to be able to introduce Don't Cry Butterfly to you. It's actually from a debut filmmaker and an alumnus of Berlin Talents, the Asian Film Academy and Locarno Summer Academy. Her shorts have screened at the Locarno International Film Festival and the Busan International Film Festival, and the film you're about to see, which just premiered at Venice Critics Week to extremely positive criticism, where it scooped up the grand prize and the award for the most innovative feature as well. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming the director, Dương Diệu Linh. Welcome.
Hi everyone. Well, I'm actually quite touched because tonight's screening is quite late, and I'm surprised walking to like a cinema full of people, and just very excited, and because it's a tiny little film from across the globe in Southeast Asia. Maybe this is like the first Vietnamese film you've ever watched in your life. I don't know. I hope that it will entertain you for the night, and perhaps you can learn a new meaning for the word butterfly. And also a shout out to all the staff and volunteers of the festival. I think it's my first film, it's my first time in Toronto, and it's been an amazing time. The audience here are amazing, and all the warm welcome from everyone. So yeah, enjoy the film, and I'll be back for the Q&A if you're interested.
Also, just to add, her wonderful producer Tan Thien just left today. She was so upset not to be able to speak to you after the screening, but she wants to give her her thanks and to enjoy the screening. So we'll be back after the film. Enjoy. And welcome back to director Dương Diệu Linh. Wow, well, so many people are saying, wonderful. I actually have a few questions to start, but I will throw it to the audience in a bit. So let's get a start on. So I know it's your debut feature, but it's so daring and beautiful, but you're also the writer of the story. So can you share how you came up with it, and how were you able to communicate with your team when you were creating these abstract, fantastical visions?
Well, I have to say that it wasn't easy. People read the script and they're like, what? Well, the idea for this film came about 10 years ago, and I went back to Vietnam for the first time after like few years abroad, and I made a short film about how a middle-aged woman was trying to do a ritual to cure her daughter because she apparently was sleeping with a married man, and so she thinks that the voodoo ritual could cure that. So from that film, it sparked in me this idea about the relationship between women of two generations, and the way that they try to avoid having to confront each other in very extreme ways. And but I felt that it was too short of a film. It wasn't able to say all the things that I want to say. That's why I waited another like 5 years. So I started writing this film back in 2019, and it took me a few years to write the script. There was a lot of questions like, why are you mixing like all the genre? Why do you have like this weird creature coming into film? But I'm glad that my crew stick with my vision, and then just end up in the wonderful film that you are watching.
Excellent. Actually, because you did talk about this mysticism, why are you fascinated by such things? Mysticism and fantasy, superstition, this kind of things inspire you, and also why do you want to talk about middle-aged women in particular?
Oh, well, because in Vietnam, I think we grew up with a very strong superstitious culture. Ever since we were small, we are aware that there's an unknown world living around us, and we do respect that world. But for me, when I grew up and then I started going to temples with my mom, and I see, I don't know, like, I like to just stand there and listen to people's wishes. And it's always like, can you give me good grades in exam? Can you like make my husband love me more? Give me good health, and make me lucky. And then it just made me question like, okay, so are you really depending on those unseen forces to really give you what you want instead of working straight on it? And then pair that with the way that I observe the middle-aged women in my life, how they really try very hard not having to confront the person that they have problem with. by any means possible. And going to the voodoo master and trying to solve their problem. And it's very popular in where I come from, and I think it's very interesting just to show how the generation before me, they really are not equipped with all the emotional tools necessary to really deal with what they're really feeling inside, and to really communicate that with other people, and result in whatever extreme measures that they have to do. Yeah.
And you also mentioned the voodoo master, which I think is a really interesting and unique character. Can you also tell us about how you prepare that character in the space, especially the really strange space that the master meets the protagonist?
The voodoo master came about from a real person in life. My mom. Yeah, surprise, surprise, inspired by my mom. My mom got engaged with this weird person for 10 years, and she took a lot of money from her. And I remember my mom brought me to her place one time, and it's really bizarre, tiny little temple at the rooftop of her house. And she really had this huge wooden platform, a lotus, and then she dressed in white, like Kuan Yin, and she dressed in white, she bun her hair up, and then she carried a bottle of water with the leaf. And I'm not sure if it's the correct leaf in the Kuan Yin real life, but she just carried that, and then she was just sprinkling water all over everyone. And the image stuck in me, and I was like, oh my god, this is bizarre. And then when I was looking for the location for this film, I found this bizarre house by this architect in Vietnam. And you see in the film, they have to go upstairs, and then on the top floor you will see that wooden house structure. And in Vietnam, that is impossible, because that kind of wooden house always on the first floor, within a garden. They don't put that on top floor. It's totally against the traditional Vietnamese structure. But this lady, this architect, she went to the middle of Vietnam and she teared down an entire house from the middle of Vietnam, carry that all the way to Hanoi in the northern of Vietnam, and reconstruct that entire house on top of her house. And I find that I think it's fated, the universe brought me to that house, because I find that it's also in line with the absurdity of the whole, voodoo and con artists in the modern days. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm sure there are a lot of questions from the audience, so I would like to ask you to wave your hand high, and if you could also say your questions loud and clear for everyone to hear, that'd be great. I see someone in black right there. You? Yeah.
Hi, I have a question about the leaking in the ceiling, and how that idea came about, and what does it represent, culminating in that finale of the sequence.
Okay, so when you talk about a leak in reality sense, it's normally it just appears as one drop, and then it will drop once a day, and then you say, oh, okay, never mind, I'll fix that later. And a few months later, it starts dropping every hour, and then you're, oh, it's getting serious, I'm busy now, maybe I'll call someone a few months later. And eventually, when it gets dark and bad enough, then you call someone and you end up having to replace the entire ceiling or something. So in Vietnam, there's this saying that the house always leaks from the roof, which actually indicates the man, because in the patriarchal country, the man is considered the roof of the house. They take care of everyone, and so when the roof is not functioning well, the entire house will collapse. So for me, I guess when I thought of the visual for this film, and I came up with the idea of the house spirit that reside in the house and eventually will attack the people living in it. The leak came about quite naturally, because I really want to make it really blend seamlessly into their daily life and not just appear as a monsters. This is not a horror film, by the way. This is not a horror film. It's a family drama with a little bit scary elements. Anyway, so that idea came about, and I thought it was interesting because the way that the main character Dam, she's dealing with the problem. She's kind of not confronting it, just like how we ignore the leak for a while until it gets really, really bad. So in this case, the leak in terms life or in terms heart, kind of grow and grow and grow as she tries to run away from having to confront it, and eventually become a monster that consumes her. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions from the audience? In the white there?
Yeah. Out of just curiosity, why doesn't the husband have any speaking roles at all?
The question was about the husband's dialogue. how come he didn't speak in the film?
Well, this is a decision that comes from the actor himself. So I initially did write some lines for him, but it's also very sparse and very redundant. And then after the first table read, he was like, Ling, I think it will be more powerful and you can tell what you want to tell with the character if you just remove all his lines, except for the ending. Because I think in many of Vietnamese film, Vietnamese women depicted as like victim. And I always feel bad for them, like why the man also the bad guy and like cheating or like abusive or do something. But I find that for this film I really want to explore the breaking down of a relationship. And so in Vietnamese society, especially when I was growing up, the man is always seen as an absent father figure because they are expected to be out there doing all the big and important things, the work and the society thing, and the women are supposed to like stay home and take care of the household and the kids, and very much involved with every tiny little thing in the house. And the men, if they take care of the tiny little things, they are considered weak, they are not manly enough. And so because of that expectation from the society, the men end up becoming very disconnected to the house itself, the household chores, and the family members. Like you see in the film that she doesn't even let him do anything. He was just a bit slow, and then she's like, let me do it. And then she asked him for his opinion, but he was just about to say it, and she'll say it for him. That's how it was like for me growing up with my dad, especially. Like, he doesn't talk much. We didn't really have a relationship because of that. So I felt that in this film I really want to really try to see also from the man perspective, that the fact that why this relationship is broken down even before the cheating happened. So I think the cheating is really just an event, but essentially the relationship was already over before that. Yeah.
In extension to that, can you actually also share about the background of your cast and how they were cast and how they worked amongst themselves and also with you?
It's going to be a long answer. Well, okay, the lead actress, she's a very well-known theatre actress. But I really love her because she has this very positive energy, but as you can see that in her there's something broken inside, and she's also searching for something. And I really like the fact that she could really tone down her energy for the camera, because usually for filmmakers, when we work with theatre actors, we really we are a bit hesitant because they have very loud energy. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just different form, of media. But like for her, sometimes we have to tire her out. Like we have the crew to talk to her, entertain her, ask her to tell them stories while waiting for the set, so that when she's on set, she's a bit tired. Especially all the best performers here are she's very, very tired. And I think it works for us, and she loves it. I mean, she really loves telling stories. She's a lovely person, And for the father, the man, he's actually a choreographer. So when I talk to him about rhythm and speed and tempo, and rather than like emotion or understanding of character. So we really talk about how he would move. As you notice, that he moves at a different speed than the women. It's also to show that he's also existing on a different timeline, a bit different plane compared to the women. And also, I like the way he looks. Like he's old, but he looks still handsome. And then his eyes always look like he's looking for something, like a part of his soul is missing. And then I love that. The daughter, she's actually a non-actress. It's actually her first film and her first time acting ever. She was a production assistant on a set of another film that was shown yesterday, Vietnam. And my producer just told me that, I was working on this set and there's this girl that has a very interesting face, maybe you want to meet her. And then when she came in, I was like totally fell in love because she's so natural and it's pure instinct. Of course, when working with her, I need to do a little workshop and just to make sure she's really relaxed and being herself so that she's not thinking that she's acting. And the boy, he's a student. Yeah, but he's very committed. Like when I met him for the first time for audition, I told him, can you keep your hair long? I like guys with long hair. No promises. And 2 months later, we met again and his hair was really long. I'm like, okay, you get the role. Just kidding. I mean, he's a good actor, but yeah.
I love how you tailored your direction depending on the background of the cast. That's wonderful. Do we have any more questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious about the practical effects. There is some CGI, but what did you do practically? At some point, there seems to be a ferromagnetic fluid that you used, I think. So how did you do these things?
Oh my God, you're the first person who noticed the practical effect. I love it. Yeah, because I really, at the beginning, my team was like, oh, let's just use CGI, it's cheaper, more efficient, it's faster. But no, I really want a physical thing there because I love, David Cronenberg, John Carpenter's, the early days, Aliens, how they really use practical effect. So we have a special effect artist to really come down and craft the entire thing. So everything you saw on screen is there, and we just use a visual effect in post to manipulate the movement. The flute took us a very long time because I don't want it to be black, I don't want Venom. I want it to be like holographic, like iridescent kind of color. So we bought a very expensive iridescent color and do a lot of different testing and texture to make it like a goo that will also move with the lights. That's why you see in the film it's really not just black, but it also has some color to it. Yeah.
Excellent question. Do we have any more from the audience? Where? A checker shirt person? Oh, I see you now, sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking about that question, the topic about that black substance, on that treatment, what was the inspiration behind it, and what does that symbolize when you saw that visually kind of like 2 or 3 times in the movie?
Well, David, you figured it out. I was being sneaky, but well, okay. The original idea of the house spirit, especially during the sex scene, it was actually a Filipino mythical creature called the aswang, and it's actually a creature that will wander around at night and will land on top of a pregnant person's house and will suck the baby from the pregnant person's belly through the roof. So it's a loose inspiration, but that was my interpretation of how it would look like, which is the creature really extending its tongue through the ceiling and into the person's body. But in this film, actually, the final design is actually, based on the the missionary position and the penetration of the man into a woman's body, and the veins of the creature during that sex scene was also inspired by a certain thing, and especially as well as the movement, the pumping motion. I find it interesting because it's almost like it's also sucking the energy from the woman. It's almost like all this deep dark thoughts and desire that Tam, the main character, refused to confront, is now sucking away all her life energy, life force, and the ball that is splashed onto her face at the end, loosely inspired by a placenta, which is also leads to the baby that appear at the end, because that is up to your interpretation, like where the baby comes from, but it could also be like it's the house spirit, the creature, the baby of the creature, which is it's just a representation of the problem at hand that is still there, because the couple is still staying together. That means the creature is still there because it's never go away since they decide to just stay. Yeah, but also there are now other interpretations for that ending scene, which if you like to explore.
Thank you so much. I think there's someone in the middle there. Yeah, you.
I thought the script was wonderful and the characters were beautifully developed. You also brought a lot of Vietnamese culture and tradition into the movie, so thank you. And I'd like to congratulate you on your first debut feature. My question is, I have 2 questions, if that's okay. One, what was the role or significance of water to you in this film, and what it meant for us, or what the audience should have taken from that? And second, the movie was in the lens of the Vietnamese woman, if I'm not mistaken. Will there be a movie for the Vietnamese man?
Interesting. Well, water for me, it came about very naturally. Partly, I guess, because in my horoscope there's a lot of water signs. But also, I feel that when it comes to a woman, the female energy is always something very fluid, very comforting, very nurturing. And in my feeling, like Tam, she's the in Vietnamese, with the saying like the man built the house, but the woman makes the home. So when she disappears, and it's almost like the soul of the house is gone, and now what is left behind is the flooding, which is just the aftermath, the whatever that is left over, the shadow of her, the homemaker that is being swallowed by her own monster. Yeah. Regarding the question of the film for men, I'll think about it.
Do we have time for one more question? Yeah, let's do one last question. I think. Oh, or do you wanna choose that one last person? Okay, let's make it really quick then. Let's. You go first.
I just thank you for your amazing film and congrats on your first feature. I just wanted to say I want to ask about the significance of dinner table and food specifically as a tool for family to come together, but also to talk as well about the problem.
Thank you. I think because growing up as Vietnamese, it's important conversations somehow always happen over the dining table, but they also told children not to cry on the dining table, but they always scold us on the dining table. So I think the dining table become like an obsession with me. It's almost like when we have extended family gathering, it's always the women sitting around a table preparing food and talking bad about men most of the time, complaining and everything. So for me, the conversations, any important conversation is always surrounded by food, and I find that I think it's something personal. It's just something that comes from my childhood that I bring into my film. Yeah.
Okay, very quickly, the last person. Where did you? Please go ahead. I can't see.
Yeah, you just alluded to another interpretation of the ending, and I'd love to hear more about the ending.
Oh wow. Okay. So this interpretation actually comes from my crew when they read the script. Of course, I had my own interpretation, but I leave it up to. But one interpretation was that this happened in the past, so the baby could be harmed, and so Tom actually has been feeding the husband with that all along, and it didn't work, obviously. And another interpretation is that since Ha is gone to her study, now they try to make it work, and she tries to give birth, and finally she gives birth to a boy. But also, either that the child is the child of them, or that child is the child of the monsters, or not, is still a representation of the burden or the dead marriage that still try to live on due to society expectation. Because for me, what's important is just to show that the two of them are still together, despite whatever happened, despite all that she could have learned, but she still ended up doing the same thing. Yeah.
Well, in addition to the last scene, I think there are many scenes that could be interpreted in many ways. So I urge you to watch the third screening, or to invite your friends to go together to have a discussion after that screening as well. I just want to thank Len so much for coming to Toronto. Any last words for your audience? She's leaving tomorrow, so.
Wow. I don't know, I got a shock actually when I come back in. I was just watching the last few scenes with everyone and just see the reaction of you guys, and also you guys are staying back here this time of the day just for the Q&A. I'm actually very touched. I don't know how else to express that. So I guess I hope you had enjoyed the film and it has brought something to you and your soul, and for you to have a good night's sleep.
Or be haunted.
And I hope that whenever you see a leak in the ceiling, you will think about this film a little bit and fix it.
Thank you so much, Len. Thank you for staying behind.
Thank you.
Have a good night.